Welcome everybody. Let's give everybody a minute like we usually do. Hopefully, hopefully morale's okay for my northeast peeps that are probably on one of their last weeks, probably their last week if they are fortunate enough of summer break. So hopefully morale is okay. I know some of you folks down south and areas of the lake are back into the swing of things. So I hope everybody's hanging in there today. Um, as advertised, the focus for today is going to be on just, I guess, kind of letting you in to some of our insight in terms of, for those of you that have followed along with us, and I will reintroduce myself or introduce myself for those that are new, but it's how we work with families, coach families, educate families on building a list of colleges with affordability being front of mind. Because I would just imagine putting myself in your shoes. As a matter of fact, I've had many of you confirm this. That's one of your biggest challenges, right? You can help, just by knowing these kids and knowing the colleges, like this is going to be the right cultural fit for you. This is going to be, this checks your geographic preferences, your academic, social. In your sleep, you can build a list of colleges for, I think, probably most of the students that you work with. But the vast majority of school counselors are flying blind when it comes to that affordability piece. Maybe and so I think that's just a huge challenge and just a disconnect that we have that again, hopefully that we can help you with. For those of our partners, welcome back. I love seeing the familiar faces as always. You guys are diehards. If you don't partner with us already, I'm putting a scheduling link into the chat here. That is to meet with my colleague, Anne Marie. She's our director of high school partnerships. We work with about 3,200 high schools across the country. And we are just kind of like your financial aid, your scholarship resource. We like to consider ourselves a source of truth. We have an incredible team of experts. We provide a free financial aid curriculum that happens in real time throughout the year. And then we have our platform, College Aid Pro, which we'll spend some time in today. That is a incredible resource for parents, for students, for school counselors, for us, right? Trying to, again, create transparency in this process. Something that we say all the time is that I think we're really good at coaching folks up, helping them understand how this system works, but they have to know how it's going to work for their family. And that's what the technology does. That's a role that plays. For those of you that are new to us, new to me, my name is Matt Carpenter. I'm the founder of College Aid Pro. I've been doing this for about 2 decades, coming up on 20 years here. Pretty much right out of college, rather. This is all I've ever done is been in kind of this crazy world, especially this past year of financial aid and scholarships. And we love to support school counselors. We love to support obviously students and families. Those are our biggest stakeholders, but I would say you guys as school counselors are right after that, and we are collectively on the front lines here. So for those of you that are not familiar, we're going to spend time just in the platform today because this is, as far as I know, the best resource in terms of being able to help families figure out, what are going to be the most obviously schools that are a good fit for them, again, from that academic cultural standpoint, but then also the price is right. And I see a lot of our high school partners are on here. You guys already use this in your own school counseling offices. Your families already have access to it, but maybe even if that's the case, you don't know all the nuances within this. So I want to go a little bit deeper today. Again, it's specifically around this affordability piece. But what we are looking at here is a family's home dashboard. So this is an individual account. Parent has access, student has access if they want. Generally speaking, it's the parents that are paying attention to this stuff more than the students. Of course, there's exceptions there. But they onboard themselves, they ask a few general questions. And for you as school counselors, you have access to their accounts as well, except for their financial details. You won't have access to that. But you'll be able to see what their SAIs are, for example. But I think most importantly for maybe you, if you're advising some students hands-on, and if you're not, maybe even more so for families, they're going to see what these colleges are actually going to cost them. So this is I'm in the Boston area. This is a family that has kind of right down the fairway in terms of income. When I say right down the fairway, national averages in terms of income, in terms of savings. Happens to be a split household, divorce, separated family. That's also kind of par for the course, right? As we know. The first thing that we're doing again is being an accurate net price calculator, right? Our net price calculators, if you follow us, you hear us speak about kind of the dangers of college net price calculators a lot. There's some good ones out there, but those are the exceptions, not the rule. And most school counselors only think that's the only place that they can send families, or maybe even themselves, to get an indication of what schools are actually going to cost. But again, those, and as a matter of fact, my colleague Peg and I have done presentations entirely focused on studying colleges' net price calculators. And again, that's happy to share that for anybody that's interested. That reminds me, please, guys, especially if you're new to us, if you have questions, we'd love to make this interactive. Nobody likes hearing themselves talk more than myself, but I could use some interaction, right? Interrupt me, butt in. I want to make sure that I'm talking about the stuff that's topical to you all. And obviously, we're kind of focused today on this affordability piece for college and how to coach that, with your students. But ask me about anything, FAFSA updates, or what, this is my time is your time. So, okay. So, anyways, this is what you will have visibility to if you want. Certainly what families will have visibility to. So they get to see, okay, here's how much schools actually cost me, right? And like, wow, that's really interesting that, for example, Amherst College is going to be more affordable than the in-state state school at UMass Amherst, right? For this family. And that will be the case, right? So that's very eye-opening and counterintuitive that, especially as families are thinking about affordability, one of the most common mistakes that they'll make is to say, well, we're only looking at state schools because and oftentimes the in-state state schools, especially for families that have very low resources, are going to be some of your most cost-effective options. But that's, kind of a problematic strategy if that's what you're focused on. If we're just going to focus on the sticker prices, right? For most families, the sticker price is a distraction. It's irrelevant. We want families focused on what are they actually going to pay at any given school. Okay. Yeah, so the question is this is a school counselor, first time seeing our platform. Is this free, or is there a cost for counselors, schools, whatever? So again, of all the partnerships that we have with high schools, there's two broad buckets, and there are variations within each of those buckets. But broadly, generally speaking, most of the schools that we work with, they don't have budget, they have negative budget, whatever. So what that looks like is we provide the free education. Every family will have the ability to create an account here for free, but some of the features are ring fenced. For example, they can only put 3 colleges in here. Okay, and the upgraded version costs. Or sorry, I'll get to that in a second here. There's also a section of the tool, which I'm going to show us in a minute here, that just shows families how to find the most affordable colleges based on financial aid scholarships tailored to them, right? Go show me who's going to give me the most in financial aid or me the most in scholarships. That's behind the paywall. So everything else in the platform, everybody has access to, even the free version. Okay. If you find us off the internet, right, you pay we want $149 for access to the premium version of the tool. What we're likely working towards this year, and I'm probably not getting over my skis too much, but our relationships with school counselors will give them kind of a unique the unique ability to, if they share it with their high school, families can have access instead of to the premium version for 100, instead of them paying $149, they pay $25 to get on there. Okay. Any free and reduced lunch families, they get premium access for free. So that's kind of what it looks like. If a school has no budget, we do the education for free throughout the year. everybody has access to the free version of the tool. Free and reduced lunch families have premium access to the tool for free. Families that don't fit in that category, we will give them the ability to offer it to families for $25 if they want to get on there. And then we have our percentage of colleges, or sorry, of high schools that pay for seats for their whole school in the same way that you do for Naviance or Score or Zello or whatever. One of those more admissions focused platforms that you use at your school. Those prices start at $2,000 a year. So hopefully that's helpful. And again, book some time with us. We'll learn more about your school. You can learn more about us. Yeah, no, so parents do not have to go through the school to get access to College Aid Pro, right? They can sign up on the internet, right? You can go on College Aid Pro right now and create your account regardless of where you come from. Again, if you are at one of the schools that we partner with, we take extra good care of those parents, I guess. So, and we'll give them, again, more affordable options than if they just found us off the street, off the internet, right? So hopefully that's helpful. And again, free and reduced lunch families, we'll get them on the platform, premium access, free of charge. So again, hopefully that's helpful. Use that link in here to book some time with Anne-Marie, and we'll give you all the nitty-gritty specifics for your school and learn a little bit more about you and how we might be able to support you further. Yeah, pretty wild. I mean, Kevin, to see so many schools that are $90,000+ a year. I mean, next year we're going to hit, there's going to be a couple dozen schools that'll be over $100,000, right? Which is bananas. But for a lot of these families, don't worry about that. What are you going to pay? Okay. And then to get back to what I was teasing a second ago here is actually being able to, okay. Okay, so thanks, Jennifer. Just seeing your question here, but I think I hit it. How do we help, whether it's us trying to brainstorm for or with a student as a school counselor, or just empowering that student or that student or that parent to go search for schools on their own. Now, again, just like the schools I put in here, I can go put any college that I want in here, and it'll instantly tell me, hey, here's what it costs, right? Here's what, Northwestern's at 94, I'm going to pay 40 to go there. Okay. If Gonzaga, it costs 76, I want to pay 57. Now, if I want to drill down on any college, I can click on any school here. It's going to tell me a couple things. Number one, why am I getting a discount? Is it need-based financial aid? Is it scholarships? It's incredibly rare that it's both. Usually it's just to hire these two numbers. That's why, even though we'll be eligible for need-based grants, we're going to get the scholarship at Gonzaga that's going to bring us to our net price. For every college in the country, we have every single scholarship that they offer, the qualifications for each, they're all in here. And we're really good at projecting, right? Well, here's what your kid's going to get, right? So we know that they're very likely to get this on Gonzaga based on what the family has input for the students, GPA, test scores, etc. And if we ever want to drill down further, get more context, we can do that, right? Well, why is my kid getting $19,000 at Gonzaga? Well, you know what your kid's GPA and test score is. Here's the averages at Gonzaga, right? Average GPA, average test scores, average acceptance rates, right? And same thing with financial aid. Well, why are we getting financial aid? Well, here's what business model they use. Is it federal? Is it institutional? Here's a percentage of need that they meet. Okay, here's the average scholarship, right? That your kid's getting here. But I think I might argue one of the part of the tools that I think is the coolest is this search feature right here. I don't know that of another one that exists, at least on a customized level. But again, this is, if I'm a student doing this or you're doing with this student, you can say, hey, look I want to go to school close to home, and I know I'm going to be more comfortable in a smaller school setting, right? And I want to major in bio, whatever it happens to be. And I can put those search filters in there, but then I can just say, I want you to sort those based on who's most generous with financial aid. And it will automatically rank order those for me, right? Now, nobody gets into MIT. It's impossible. But here's some other colleges that are really good with financial aid that are checking my other boxes here. Maybe a couple of these might make sense to go visit or put on our list or whatever. I think a lot of the families, and this is, you know, a lot of the areas where we have a lot of concentration. So up here in the Northeast, in the Bay Area, Southern California, Chicago, Miami area, Houston and Dallas, you know, these are more affluent-ish middle class uh, populations in a lot of these communities and high schools that we partner with. But we work with this, we call them bubble families, these families that they're making too much, okay, at least according to the Department of Education and Colleges, to qualify for a meaningful amount of need-based financial aid and scholarships according to their income, assets, et cetera. But they're not ready to start paying 100 grand a year, right? So it doesn't matter if they're generous of financial aid. But I want to know who's going to give me scholarships, who's going to give my kid merit-based scholarships, regardless of my income. And this is a great way to do it, right? So Wheaton College, hey, they're going to give this family 40 grand, right? Nice little liberal arts school here, south of Boston, or, you know, St. Michael's College, awesome little Catholic school just on the outskirts of Burlington, Vermont, right? We're going to get $31,500, or Hampshire College, right? In Amherst, you know, amazing liberal arts school. They're going to give 31 grand regardless of how much this family makes. So this is a great way to get some more ideas of schools that are going to be, again, within your sweet spot from your kind of major admissions criteria. But again, also going to give us a couple bucks. Okay, yeah. Is the financial aid that we are using the search filter ranked based on the percentage of overall need met? Yes, that's essentially the criteria. When we say a school is good with need-based financial aid, it means two things. Number one, they meet a high percentage of need, but at least, or that's how we're ranking them. But that's 1A. 1B, and 1B is really right there, is what percentage of that is met with grants? Because a lot of times you get a school like, you know, University of Colorado Boulder, we meet 81% of need. Okay, well, that's not a lie, but that also includes full scholarship athletes. That includes Pell eligible Colorado residents that are not paying anything there. Your average family is getting zero in need-based grants at you know, at the UCBs of the world, and I'm picking on them. That's just any state flagship university. So it's not just a percentage of need that they meet, but what percentage of it do they meet in grants for everybody, right? Not just as a whole, as an average at the institution, because the average does not apply to every family, as you and we all know. So hopefully that answers that question. Okay. But again, if it does not, please double down here. So yeah, and so again, whether it's you doing it with the families, whether it's you just seeing, hey, based on this family, I suggested Syracuse. Let me go see how, if they would get anything in need-based financial aid or scholarships, you know. And I'm sure with merit-based scholarships, you guys have number one, you have that data for a lot of your students historically, but I'm sure now you're almost like a calculator. You know, this kid's getting, you know, this much for you know, merit-based scholarships at these schools. But we're going to allow you to gut check that. And probably what you have little to no visibility on is a need-based financial aid piece. So it can help you determine, you know, okay, I know this is a good fit for this kid academically. Am I putting them in an okay position when I recommend this from an affordability standpoint? And not that that's your job description. I know it's not in most cases, but if you want, this is what it's here for. This is what we're here for, right? Taking it a step further, we got to see these, you know, first year knee jerk net costs, right, for each of these colleges. But this is a 4-year investment, at least, right, as we know. And by the way, that's another kind of data point we have in here: average graduation rate, average graduation time. But this is a 4-year investment, and there's some meaningful variables. Are siblings coming in and out? Right? Are we going to be overlapping? Inflation is going to continue to be a very real thing, specifically at colleges, right? You think inflation is bad on the whole, you know, you know, these guys have been at that for quite some time. But we want to help them figure out, you know, what is your 4-year net cost at the school versus your budget? And we have a little exercise in the platform that helps them figure out their budget on an annual basis, if anything, right, before we have to start borrowing. So can I do anything towards this expense before I have to start borrowing? And that's ultimately what matters here, right? We want to give these families a crystal ball. And again, for those of you that are pretty hands-on, you as well, right? So here's what it's going to cost over 4 years net versus their budget. So somebody's going to have to borrow this. And how is that outcome in layman's terms, right? And just to give you, again, some more context, if we click down, we can drill down, okay? But basically, and again, because we want to try to simplify this thing too, right? There's so much misinformation and so much information, period. What's an ideal outcome? No loans. That's ideal. That's not realistic for most folks, but a great outcome is that if they only borrow the federal direct student loan up to $27,000, that's a great outcome. If they borrow up to the amount we expect them to make their first year after graduation, that's still good. We can stomach that over the course of 4 years combined. Once we start getting above that threshold, that's when we get a little nervous. That's when we want to take a closer look, okay? Or certainly make sure that we're hedging their bets or helping them hedge their bets. But what I found to be very powerful is that, teenagers, they don't know what it means to borrow 3,000 versus 88,000 versus 7,456. These are abstract numbers, right? And I was no different. Matter of fact, most of these kids were considerably more dialed than I was. But what we found to be powerful is that instead of saying, student, if they're involved in this conversation at all, forget about 74,000. I want you focused on what what your first monthly payment is going to be when you graduate if you borrow this amount. Now, it depends on the repayment plan, but yeah, $987 a month. It's not easy to make $987 a month, right? And then we can compare that for what we expect our take home to be based on the major, based on the school. So again, we're just trying to give them a crystal ball. And again, you guys, to the extent that you want, to help them before they look at, in our perfect world, before they go tour a school, what is this outcome going to be if we actually end up going here? I mean, I think that's one of the big challenges in this process is that these kids are driving Ferraris and Maseratis and Lamborghinis on a Toyota Corolla budget, right? And we just want to help them avoid being in a situation like that, right? Create transparency, maximize odds for positive income. Yeah, do we get pushback from data from families that don't want to upload their data to College Aid Pro? Yeah, of course, it comes up from time to time. I mean, a couple of conversations around that. Number one, we don't package and sell. I mean, always before you upload your data anywhere, I don't do this. It's best practice, but you should read the fine print, right? Read our privacy and disclaimer and security. Read that fine print, right? We are very buttoned up in terms of cybersecurity and fancy lawyers and all of that. Okay, so they should do that. If they're concerned, I'm always like, read the fine print. Do not take my word for it, right? Go do your homework. We are beyond the minimum standards in terms of compliance. But again, go do the fine print. And I think it's relevant to say that we don't sell any family's data. We don't have access to any of their personal identifiers. That's on purpose, right? We're not getting socials. We're not getting birth dates. We're not getting addresses. We're not getting, what do they call the personal identifiers, right? We're not getting last names, right? And again, that's all by design because we don't even want to mess with that. And again, I think it's important to say that we're not packaging and reselling their data. Okay, I say that because if you want to do same piece of advice I would give you with net price calculators. No colleges have their own net price calculators. They all outsource them to third parties. So the colleges will say, we're going to market and spam the shit out of you, but excuse my language, but we are not going to package and sell your data. However, we don't make this net price calculator, and the third party is definitely going to package and resell your data. And they tell you clear as day if you read that fine print. So if you want to get estimates for what you're going to pay for college, you do make up names, whatever. And again, we're not asking for any personal identifiers, but whether you give it to us or the colleges, you're going to have to provide some relevant variables, right? Some relevant data points. But again, my main thing, and especially if you're a school counselor and you get those questions, say, hey, I don't speak for those guys. I don't represent them. Go at either ask us or again, when you go to create an account, right, we make you sign off to say, I understand what I'm signing up for. And of course, just like any platform similar to us, we have our disclosures and all that. Okay, but great question, right? Because the short answer is, yeah, of course, we get that question. So the affordability piece is, this is the tool I would say, whether you're giving it to families, whether you're using it yourself, whether you're using it together. This is going to, again, if for those schools that partner with us, you have direct visibility into a student's account if you want it. That right? Not everybody operates like that, but it's still something that you can use. And just to, again, for those of us that, or for those of you that are new specifically, every private scholarship in the country is baked into the platform here, right? So, and again, same thing, like instead of having to go to FastWeb or Raise Me or Scholly or whatever, which we all pull from the same database, right? And again, we're not going to spam you here. You know, it's all baked into here, okay? Line by line instructions on demand through the FAFSA, through the CSS profile. If you guys know my colleague Peg, right? My dear buddy Peg, she is the best bedside manner you're going to find. And again, just very helpful line by line guidance through each of those challenging applications. And then this piece I think is really cool. When families get accepted to college, you upload their financial aid award letters. The first thing we do is translate. Excuse me. There's 914 different ways colleges presented their award letters last year. The technology has taken all those 914 ways and put them into one way so you can compare apples to apples. One side-by-side financial aid award letter. It takes out the garbage, the noise, the distractions, plus loans, right? That are just like downright deceiving when they're included, presented as if they're financial aid. Work study, we back out of that and explain to them why, because it's not deducted from the bill. You're not guaranteed to get the job and you have no idea how much you're going to make. And then we tell you, did you get a good deal, right? Those of you that follow along, you know, I'm always picking on Boston College, world-class institution. A lot of people I care about went there, love there. I love, and I didn't get it, and I got rejected. So it's probably some of why I go out of my way to pick on them. But what they've earned is, I'm not crazy about their business model, and their colleagues do this all the time, but on average they award families $10,000 less than they should get in need-based financial aid. You're a family that should get 40, they're going to give you 30. We're going to call them on it. We're going to say, hey, BC gave you $10,000 less, or whatever the number is, than they say a family that fits your profile should get, and according to how they say they do business. So you have a strong chance to appeal and get more there, right? So we are gut checking their award and giving them an idea of how, whether or not it makes sense to push back, which we usually make, we usually recommend appealing and set some expectations in terms of likelihood. And then finally, when it comes time to pay the bill, we have some resources here. And for families that have to borrow, we want to make sure that they get that right. As a matter of fact, let me grab two links here. Give me just a second. And I know there's another question. Give me 1 second, guys. Because one thing I forgot to say this at the top, and I meant to, we're doing like a mini boot camp crash course, we're calling it, next week. And this is going to be we're doing it Monday, Tuesday, just for an hour. But I think this is, hopefully, let me see. And get that actual email. Well, if nothing else, let me get you I know I have the registration page here. Okay, so we're doing this, it's 2 days. We're going to do, and it's just an hour each day. We're trying to do 4 bite-sized pieces, right? Where we will do a half hour on financial aid and scholarships. We will do a half hour on kind of building that list with affordability in mind. Similar concept to what what I've done here, and then we will do a half hour walking through line by line through the Common App and best practices, right? When does it make sense to list what activities? And then we will do another half hour on the essay, right? Kind of. So it's really good. And we record it, so even if families can't even if families can't attend live, they can watch it at their time. We get some really good like deliverables, good handouts, great experts. So if you think that obviously it's free. So if you think that's a good resource, please feel free to share that out. We have that process pretty dialed. It usually ends up being a great value for families. Okay, where's the crash course? Here we go. Here's another. This one just has some more context. This landing page here. Okay, so I shared that link. Sorry. The last link that I wanted to share, that again, when it comes to this loan borrowing piece at the finish line here, right? If you're still getting those questions, we are still getting those questions, especially with the delays this year, right? And what's the best way? How do I find what loan is right for my family? We have some best practices there, as well as a kind of side-by-side comparison sheet. And there's also on this landing page I'm going to share here, a recorded webinar where my colleague and I, Peg, spend an hour going through the pros and cons, best practices of all these loan options. So I've shared that with you as well. I think those were my big gets here, right? So yeah, if you don't partner with us already, you should be. Let us make you look good, guys, going into the new school year here. Our webinar schedule is filling up in a massive way, so you do want to prioritize that. But we have more bandwidth left still. So that I again shared the meeting link for my colleague Anne Marie. And then I have the link that is for the boot camp crash course that we are doing next Monday and Tuesday. And then finally, that resource page in terms of student and parent loans, best practices, pros, cons for each options, and so on and so forth. Okay, let me sit tight for any questions, concerns, etc., etc. Like I said at the top, I hope morale is okay as you guys are getting ready to go back to school or just back to school. Calm before the storm here in terms of getting too far into the weeds in the admissions and financial aid process, but we're about there, team. And thanks as always for showing up. I'm always grateful for you guys, especially in what some of you is off season ish. So I'll sit around for one more minute and then we'll call it what did I want to say? Call it a coffee talk. Yeah, so if you want to get in touch with us about your school signing up, again, this is the meeting link that I put in. That is Anne Marie's, my colleague's link. I put that in there right now. Get on Anne Marie's calendar. She will give you the specifics of how we'll get your webinars set up, get your College Aid Pro platform set up. Again, we'll just need to learn a little bit about what your preferences are, and then we'll hit the ground running. Yeah, Taryn, so hopefully that answers your question. If that's not crystal clear, just write into counselor. That's another resource for everybody. Let me put this in the chat as well. So counselor@collegeaidpro.com. We have eyes on that all day, every day. We pride ourselves on being very responsive. We'll get back to you within the first business day. Any questions you have, and there's Anne Marie. Thank you, Anne Marie. So Anne Marie is here as well. That's her direct email. So it's Anne Marie S, ANNMARIES at collegeapro.com. You can email her directly, get on the calendar. We will get you propped up, Taryn, in time for the school year, definitely. Okay, can the student and parent create their FSA ID now? Yes, they can, right? So that's always something we're like, hey, look, bang that out now. That is something that we can do before we can have access to the FAFSA. So, I mean, look, here's the what I'm telling parents now about the FAFSA is do nothing. Okay, they're going to do this, which again, whatever, the mistakes kind of keep coming. Softs roll out on October 1st, where a select number of colleges and a select number of families are going to complete the FAFSA process. But by and large, they are soft circling. They're projecting in and around December 1st is when the FAFSA is going to be accessible to everybody. So again, priority deadlines are going to be pushed way back this year. How we are coaching it in our practice is, and for any families that listen to us, anybody that we get in front of, don't even think about the FAFSA right now. Okay. As Thanksgiving in December approaches, and you guys know we're checking on this every hour for any updates, right? We have a direct line of contact there, and we will share that with you and everybody in our ecosystem when we know more. Do nothing with the FAFSA. Don't think about it until at the moment, December 1st. CSS profile is going to be accessible on October 1st. We'll complete and submit that, get that off our plates. In the meantime, we're finalizing our list of colleges. We're completing and submitting admissions applications. Do not get distracted by the FAFSA right now. So the best advice, in my opinion, is exactly that. Share that message with your families. Don't even worry about one thing right now. Yeah, so Taryn, I don't know if you're not, oh, sorry. Okay, you did get that, Taryn. Sorry, I was reading the wrong spot. So hopefully that is helpful. Yeah, and I think I got all the questions in the chat. But let me know if I did not. I need to put them in the Q&A or resurface them, but I believe I got everybody. Yeah, so FAFSA, hurry up and do nothing. All right, guys. Well, this was great. We're let's see. We have obviously next week off, and I think we'll spend a lot of, whether it's September 4th or the 18th. I think one of those sections we'll spend a lot of time talking about EA versus ED, and obviously specifically like ED, right? Like what are best practices from our perspective. We'll get your take. We'll make that interactive, right? We'll talk to you about how we coach it. And again, I think that's always an interesting subject. It's always a moving target. Yeah, is there a link to go and watch past webinars? Again, same thing, right into counselor@collegeaidpro.com or AnnMarieS at collegeaidpro.com, and we can get you set up with anything you're looking for there, Samantha. All right, y'all, but thanks for tuning in. Been a big, great crowd today, especially for, like I said, kind of dog days of summer here. And thanks for everything that we do. We try to say as much as we can. You guys are have impossible job descriptions, and we're happy to support you in any way we can.